So when dealing with carboxylic acids, we recognize the functional group contains a C double bond O and the OH group. So this is the functionality for the carboxylic acid in all cases. And the number one carbon then is the carbon of the carboxylic acid. So this will always be the number one carbon for us when we're naming. So if we were to name the series of compounds here, there's one carbon associated with this, so it's a methane. So I'm going to call this a methanoic acid. There's a space here. There's two carbons in this. I would call this ethanoic acid. The next one, there's three carbons. This is a propanoic acid. And finally, we have a butanoic acid. I'm going to write it down here. Very simple naming when it comes to the carboxylic acids. So now we start adding substituents on and see how that affects the naming. The carboxylic acid is always going to be the number one carbon. So I'm going to start numbering 1, 2, 3 carbons in. So in the 2 position is a methyl group. It's a propane as the base chain. So it's a propanoic acid with a 2-methyl. So I'll write down 2-methyl propanoic space acid. So space there, no space here anywhere else. So now I can start adding more substituents in and we'll see how that affects anything. It doesn't really. Carboxylic acid is always going to be the number one carbon. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the 4 position here, we've got this hanging off. So there's an amino in the 4 position and the chloro is in the 2 position, and then in the 1 position obviously is the carboxylic acid. So it's a butanoic acid. So note that in the amino group, so this is an amino, so it comes with an A, and this is a substituent hanging off the amino. So there is a bit of, I don't want to say controversy, but some will suggest that methylamino is the functional group, whereas I believe that this is an amino group, so it starts with the letter A, and hanging off of it in the N position is this methyl group. So if you write it as methylamino, then the M is alphabetical. If you write it as an N-methylamino, then the amino A is the alphabetical letter for that functional group. So I'm going to just show you the way that I would be doing it. So in the 4 position is the amino. So in the 4 position is an N-methylamino. In the 2 position is the chloro. And this is a butanoic acid. The other way that people will do it is they'll not put the N here. And so then what happens is this becomes the functional group, the methyl, and I don't fully agree with this. But you will see some that will write this as 4-methylamino. Sorry, I wrote that wrong because the 2-chloro has to come out front if you're doing that. So it's a 2-chloro 4-methylamino butanoic acid. And you can see I don't prefer that one. I prefer this one here. If I were to have 2 acid groups on the same carbon chain, we'll see that we end up using the prefix of di for dioic. So I've got a carbon chain 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a butane. There's 2 acid groups on it, so it's a butane dioic acid. Now note that I don't have to indicate that it's on the 1 carbon and the 4 carbon. It's assumed they're the highest priority functional group and they're at the end of the carbon chain. So I don't put the 1 and the 4 in that case. Moving on, again we have a dioic acid, but where we number from will depend on the substituents that are hanging off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's a hexane group. If I start 1, 2 in, I get a chloro. If I start 1, 2 in, there's nothing here. And then in the 3 position is an ethyl. So to make the lower numbers on the substituents, I'm going to start from numbering from this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have a hexane dioic acid. In the 2 position is a chloro, and in the 4 position is an ethyl. So if I were to write this out alphabetically, it's a 2 chloro, 4 ethyl, hexane dioic acid. And for the last compound, we're dealing with some cyclic compounds. So we have a carboxylic acid that's hanging off a cyclopentane group. And to name that, we're going to call it cyclopentane first, but then we're going to call it a carboxylic acid. So cyclopentane carboxylic space acid will be the name of this compound. Now, if we have other substituents hanging off of it, in the 1 position, I'm going to have the carboxylic acid. And what I want to do is try to create the lower number of substituents. So 2, 3, 4. If I go this way, I'll have a 2 and a 4. If I go in this direction, I'll have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have a 3, 5. So we'll keep it at the 2 and the 4, but writing it out will always be alphabetical. So in this case here, I'm going to have a 4 chloro. Chloro comes first, even though it's in the 4 position. 2 oxo cyclopentane. No room for this. There's a dash 1 dash carboxylic. Now there's a space acid. The rest of this is all one word, and I'll have it written out nicely in the box as seen above.